been recognized.
Thank you. I thank the gentleman for recognizing me because I think it needs to be made very clear that there are some of us who have spent years trying to make sure that justice was served, that the survivors were able to make sure that they got information released. I would ask unanimous consent to enter into the record this article from PolitiFact, which is a fact-checking, a reputable fact-checking media outlet. The headline reads, "Have Democrats always been interested in Epstein case transparency?" We looked back. Well, I will scroll down to the relevant section that says, Democrats began to seek records about Epstein after the Miami Herald's late 2018 investigation into the case. And that is the point at which the Miami Herald did a massive Pulitzer Prize winning expose where most of the facts that we know today came out, including the sweetheart deal that the U.S. attorney in Miami, Alex Acosta, negotiated that let this sex trafficker who raped teenagers get off with a slap on the effing wrist. They cut a deal with him to plea to state misdemeanors. State misdemeanors. They let him leave the jail cell after spending the night in the evenings and go to his cushy office to work on work release every day. Meanwhile, we just heard from the young women who experienced and were his victims and the victims of his accomplices that some of them, even once he was in jail, where he ended up committing suicide, were still being victimized by him. At one point, one woman described that she was in a jail cell with him, and he was still abusing these girls and these women. So I'm going to try to remain calm, although I am certainly not calm right now. No one should dare suggest that there weren't Democrats actively and consistently fully engaged. This article mentions Lois Frankel, myself, and others who never stopped trying to get these survivors justice. And we owe them that justice right now. These files should be released because the accomplices, by the way, much of the deal that was cut, the sweetheart deal that got him the slap on the wrist, much of that deal also shielded his accomplices. This is and has always been and continues to be a massive cover-up that Donald Trump and his cronies never want to see the light of day. Don't play into it. There are Republican members that I know believe that these survivors deserve the justice and their day in court that they never got because Alex Acosta and a whole bunch of other people who were part of the crony rich guy situation that existed in South Florida protected a whole lot of rich people who were allowed to rape and sexually abuse and traffic teenage girls. It's an outrage. And yes, I'll close by adding that, and what did Donald Trump do? He rewarded the former U.S. attorney that led the deal cutting on this with a cabinet position, made him the Secretary of Labor. This is revolting. Spare me the accusations or the suggestions that Democrats haven't stayed fully engaged in this. We have. There's documentation. I've filed legislation that I would urge, find me a Republican colleague who will join me in the Courtney Wild Crime Victims Reinstatement Act to make sure that we can ensure that this never happens again, that a sweetheart deal can never be cut like this again, that no one ever gets off like Jeffrey Epstein and his accomplices did with the slap on the wrist. I've had bipartisan Republican support for this bill for years. and now deafening silence. I know there's got to be someone with a spine to step up and allow the victims to make sure that the Crime Victims' Rights Act, that is federal law, that they never were allowed to have exercised because of the sweetheart deal that was cut, that we make sure that that injustice never occurs again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.